What are some of the most amazing archaeological discoveries ever to have been made? We're glad you asked that question because we intend to answer it for you. Featuring all of the world's great archaeological finds in a single video would be impossible, as the video would be days long. But you can think of this one as a highlight reel. Some archaeological discoveries have been made more than once. Take the Huaca Pintada fresco in northern Peru, for example. It was first discovered more than a century ago, and photographs of it were taken. But those responsible for the initial discovery didn't do a great job of documenting precisely where they'd found it. As a result of their poor record-keeping, the fresco was lost again and wasn't rediscovered until late 2022. Fortunately, the fresco doesn't seem to have suffered in its century out of the public eye and is still in excellent condition. According to the Swiss archaeologist Sam Gavami, it's more than 1,000 years old and has a composition unlike any other pre-Hispanic mural ever found in Peru. The Huaca Pintada fresco is so named because it's part of the Huaca Pintada temple, which is thought to have been created by the Mochi civilization that lived in this part of Peru between the 1st and 8th centuries. They're known to have worshipped the moon, but based on the images that make up the mural, it seems they may also have worshipped a bird-like deity. Most of us know what a head lice comb looks like through bitter experience, whether that's as a child or with our children. Lice combs have looked the same throughout history. Here's one of the oldest ones archaeologists have ever found, one that bears an inscription which might be the oldest in the world. The comb and its inscription were found at a 4,000-year-old site in Israel that was once Lachish, a Canaanite city-state. It's made of ivory, and the words scratched into its surface are written in the oldest known alphabet. It says, "May this tusk root out the lice of the hair and the beard," which is, of course, precisely what a lice comb is intended to do. Deciphering and translating the letters on the artifact took Israeli archaeologists and experts an entire year, with the findings reported in November 2022. The Canaanite script is the oldest alphabet that exists in the historical record, and translating it is a slow and difficult task because our understanding of it is imperfect. Microscopic examination of the comb has revealed the presence of head lice in their nymph stage, so the comb was effective. Tattoos are very fashionable at the moment, but there's nothing new about them. Humans have been tattooing themselves and each other for thousands of years. Historians have wondered for a long time why so many ancient Egyptian women had tattoos, but a new theory emerged in November 2022. Experts now think that the tattoos were meant as a form of magical protection during pregnancy, childbirth, and the postpartum period. These tattoos were worn on the lower backs of women, similarly to what we saw in the so-called tramp stamp tattoo craze of the early 21st century. The conclusion has been reached after the study of 6 ancient Egyptian mummies who were buried 3,000 years ago in Deir el-Medina, all of whom were confirmed to have given birth during their lives. The best preserved of the tattoos features a depiction of the deity Bes, protector of women and children, and a bowl that might have been intended to symbolize ritual purification. One of the other women also had a tattoo of a zigzag pattern representing a marsh. It's known that Egyptian women used the cooling waters of marshes to alleviate the pains associated with childbirth. You never have to go too far to find someone who believes that Earth has been visited by aliens. For those who believe in such things, discoveries like this one are the reason why. It's a collection of Klaus Donna artifacts. If we take the story of their discovery at face value, they were found in a cave in Mexico in 2018 and are 7,000 years old. Many of the artifacts appear to depict classic gray-like aliens with long faces and round black eyes. Some of the sculptures said to have been found in the cave even appear to depict spaceships flying through the air. A video of the artifacts went viral after being uploaded to a YouTube channel called UFO Mania, which has raised the suspicions of skeptics. The first issue with the claim is that the precise location of the cave has never been given. The second problem is that all of the artifacts appear to be in near mint condition. We don't know who found them or who assessed them and determined them to be 7,000 years old. To put it another way, it's entirely possible that the objects are all fakes. Scandinavia is the right place to look if you're in search of Viking treasure. And so it proved to be the case again when a Viking hack silver hoard was found in Stjørdal, Norway in December 2021. There are 46 individual artifacts in the hoard, all of which are silver, but only 2 of which are entirely intact. The rest of them have been deliberately broken into pieces. Before that happened, they were coins, necklaces, chains, wires, and bracelets. The hoard is unusual because most Viking hack silver finds are made up of various fragments of different objects. In this case, all the pieces of each object are still present in the hoard. The Vikings cut silver up like this because they used the pieces as a form of currency, with the value of each piece based on its weight. Norway was a late adopter of coin-based currency, with no coins minted in the country until the 9th century. These silver pieces were hacked early in that century and would have replaced the barter-based economy that existed before it. The total value of the hoard would have been worth about half the price of a cow at that time. The passing of a child is always a tragedy, and has been such since the dawn of human civilization. There's evidence of that in this Stone Age child burial, which was discovered in Majunzu, Finland in November 2022. When this child was laid to rest around 8,000 years ago, they were buried wrapped in fur and plants on a bed made of bird feathers. Microscopic fragments of all of those materials were identified within the burial at the time of the discovery. Experts were able to locate the grave because of its intense red ochre shade. Red ochre was used in rock art and human burials all over the world in prehistoric times, and experts have never known why. Little remains of the grave's human occupant other than a few teeth, from which we can say that they were between 3 and 10 years old when they passed away. The feather fragments recovered from their grave, though, are the oldest ever found in Finland. The animal that the fur came from is yet to be identified, but it's most likely a dog or a wolf. In 1440, a ship called the Skafto picked up cargo in Gdansk, Poland, and set off for Belgium. It never made it to its destination. We'll never know why it sank, but it went down close to the Lysekil archipelago. The wreck, or to be more accurate, its cargo, has recently been studied by experts from the University of Gothenburg in Sweden. In doing so, the experts have discovered that there was quicklime on board. It wasn't previously known that this material was exported from Gotland during the 15th century. Other materials aboard the sunken vessel include tar, bricks, roof tiles, oak timber, and copper. In other words, it seems that the Skafto was transporting vast quantities of building materials from one place to another. Scientific analysis of the copper reveals that it was minted in what's now Slovakia, but that the bricks and timber almost certainly came from Poland. This might confirm medieval sources, which say that Slovakian mines shipped their produce to Gdansk via the rivers of the Carpathian Mountains, which was previously believed to be too hazardous and impractical to be true. You may have heard people ask who the first person to milk a cow was and what they thought they were doing. We'll never know who that person was or what their motivations were, but we're getting closer to finding out when and where it happened. In October 2022, scientists confidently announced that they'd identified the earliest use of milk in prehistoric Europe. They believe that farmers began using milk at a site called Ensisheim in Alsace, France, approximately 7,400 years ago. The age and location come from the identification of traces of dairy fat on the walls of pottery vessels recovered from the area. The farmers would have belonged to the linear bond ceramic culture, and it appears that they may have used milk on an industrial scale. Traces of the liquid have been found in more than 4,300 vessels, not only at Enzasheim, but at 70 other known settlements belonging to the mysterious culture. The traces at the Enzasheim site remain the oldest, though, suggesting that the discovery of the potential of milk happened here before the information was relayed to the culture's other sites. Egyptian burials containing elite members of the ancient civilization are known to contain some of the most exquisite and enigmatic grave goods in the world. Archaeologists in Egypt are used to seeing exotic goods in the tombs they open, but in January 2023, a group of them confirmed the discovery of something they described as extraordinary and deeply strange in the Theban necropolis. They're referring to the finding of 9 crocodile heads. The ancient Egyptians often mummified and buried animals for a variety of reasons, but this is the first time that reptile remains have been found inside the tombs of humans. The skulls were deliberately placed within the burial chamber of an individual called Keti when they were laid to rest around 4,000 years ago. The young Nile crocodiles were presumably killed specifically for the burial. Keti was a chancellor and held high rank in the court of the pharaoh Mentuhotep II, so his burial would have been an elaborate ceremony. It's possible that crocodiles were significant to Keti for personal reasons, or he may have been a member of the cult of Sobek, which worshipped the crocodile-headed god. The yellow brick road isn't real, or is it? Here's a yellow brick road that exists not in Kansas or Oz, but deep below the sea on a ridge close to the Hawaiian Islands. This road, which looks artificial in nature, was found by a deep-sea exploration vessel called Nautilus as it explored the Liliuokalani Ridge in April 2022. The ridge is part of the Papahanaumakoa Marine National Monument, which is one of the world's largest marine conservation areas and covers a larger area than every national park in the United States of America combined. The so-called road seen in this footage looks dry, but it's actually more than 10,000 feet below sea level. The yellow brick road is what the team behind the Nautilus project has nicknamed their discovery, but some fringe theorists speculate that it could be the road to Atlantis. A more rational mind might suggest that the surface of this old lake bed has been fractured by heating stress caused by volcanic activity, but that would just spoil the fun. The rectangular blocks that make up the road certainly look like bricks, and are a reminder that nature can sometimes make very familiar patterns. There are many ancient tombs to admire in Turkey. Göbekli Tepe gets most of the attention from tourists, but some of that attention ought to go to the Kapilakaya rock tomb. Maybe the reason it's not as famous as Göbekli Tepe is that you have to climb a mountain to find it. The tomb is high on a mountaintop just north of Korum. The entrance is hard to find even if you know what you're looking for, but it's worth the search. This is a staggering feat of ancient construction and architecture, but the question of just how ancient it is unresolved. We don't know who built the Kapilakaya tomb or why. Archaeologists think it was made about 2,200 years ago for a military leader called Ikezios, but that's only because the word Ikezios is crudely scratched into a wall inside the tomb. There's no proof that the inscription was made at the same time as the tomb, and even if it was, it's not like the name Ikezios was reserved for just one person. Whoever this person was, their people thought enough of them to carve a large cube-shaped tomb directly into the side of a mountain for them. Now that's respect. The magic sphere of Helios Apollo is the name given to a stunning marble sphere that was found on a hillside close to the Temple of Dionysus in Athens, Greece in 1866. It's hard for scientists to date stone artifacts, but we know the temple was constructed around 2,600 years ago, and it was at first thought reasonable to assume that the sphere comes from the same period. It was discovered by Professor Athanasios Thusopoulos, who believed that the symbols etched into its surface were arcane and had connections with magic and spellcasting, hence the artifact's name. A later study by Armand L. Delat concluded that the sphere is actually a talisman, which was buried close to a theater next to the temple by someone who was hoping for good luck in a theatrical contest. Delot estimated it to be a product of the 1st or 2nd century, rather than being as old as the temple. There's another plot twist though, as a more recent study by Nick Farrell concludes that the sphere was designed as a spirit house, designed to encase a spirit that could be called upon for assistance by its owner. We may never know which of these interpretations, if any of them, is correct. Subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and enjoy watching new videos on my channel. Thanks for watching, and see you soon!